Notice anything weird here? This is a new boost on Nuke that's actually kind of insane. This is a glitch that I hope gets patched soon that allows you to see through a lot of different smokes depending on the angle. This is a molly someone showed me in a pug that gets all of ladder really effectively, and this Anubis pixel gap almost got a team disqualified from the major. All that and more after a word from our sponsor. It's time to break up with your old browser and get something new, Opera GX. Opera is a web browser that offers a ton of customization just like skins in your favorite game, CS 1.6. Skins can sometimes be overwhelming, but they've made it easy with the GX store where you can flip your browser with one click, like clicking on the CS themed browser mod, which gives you background music, keyboard sounds, unique colors, and a dedicated wallpaper, and more, and all of these can be enabled or disabled if you don't like them. Opera GX has also integrated AI into the browser with ChatGPT or ChatSonic, which can summarize an article or find related content for you easily, and they even have a page if you have any questions. My personal favorite feature is GX Control, which allows you to limit the max RAM and CPU your browser uses instead of stealing all of your resources. And if you're tired of getting flashbanged, you can turn around, or in Opera, turn on Forced Dark Mode to make sure every page you enter is safe to use. Thanks to Opera for sponsoring this video. Check them out with the link below. So this boost on Nuke is pretty risky because you have to be in the middle of the open to do it, but if you find the right timing, it's insanely easy because this isn't even a pixel walk. It's actually a ledge that you can walk all along that apparently I've never seen before. I played a Mirage Pug the other day, and my teammate said, hold on, I'll throw a full ladder molly and then use this lineup, and it worked really well. However, you should probably know you can throw this pretty easily from bottom middle if you just stand in the right spot. But before you can even get there, something you've probably died to is this, where someone spams that mid-window smoke, and you can counter it by pre-firing that angle. But if you're not throwing instant window smokes because they're hard, you can try throwing this mid-window smoke by holding D and jump throwing that won't allow a gap when spammed, and the standard nade to break the smoke actually won't work on it well either. Although you can still throw this one and it works just fine. On Inferno, you might have seen people throw this lineup for a bottom banana smoke that puts out mollies on either side and allows a gap for someone to play in without being just smoked off. Although it doesn't stop you from getting triple naded. If you want to throw that on your own because you're pugging, then you can try just right-clicking it in the right spot and it'll do the exact same thing. If there's a molly that lands in the cubby, you can just play in the corner of the smoke and it won't do any damage. However, you do have to be pretty careful because if you throw it too deep, it ends up smoking you off entirely. But it won't stop you from throwing this flash, which is still very effective to peek someone's car if you can't get a flash from a teammate. On Dust2, unfortunately, you can't get away from how effective the new mid-door smoke is, and most pros will throw it with this lineup here. However, after spending literally hours struggling to get this consistently, I decided to just throw it differently and came up with this smoke from the back wall that has a ton of leeway and will actually land consistently. Ancient doesn't seem to be a lot of people's favorite map, and one of the reasons is probably these shadows that honestly feel like they absolutely ruin it in certain positions. However, you can use them to your advantage in a couple of angles, like this angle here towards Cheetah, where you can easily see the shadow and pre-fire someone, or this one here in Cave, where if you play passive, they are likely to pre-fire you, but if you actually play a little bit out from the angle, you can see their shadow, and then play a jiggle setup where you peek into them when they get a little bit closer and get the kill for free. And if you notice what happened there, the bomb will always drop forward when you die with it, which means you should probably be careful where you're running when you're somewhere like Cat, as it can easily drop down to Elevator. Your equipment will also drop forward at least slightly, but more notably, you should keep in mind that the nade you drop is the last one you equip, so if you pull out your flash and die, then you won't be dropping a smoke to your opponents. If you have early mid control on Anubis and don't want to die to an Opper, you can actually move to the doors and look through the gap here to be able to see people reposition or rotate off. But a few weeks ago, there was some drama over whether or not it was legal in Valve events, which it turns out it is. Possibly even more annoying than the pixel gap is the Lurk smoke at B, because teams throw it almost every round, and it's pretty hard to deal with when they could be on either side. If you want to be that person that does that to your opponents, you can use the line up here and a simple jump throw. Just keep in mind that someone can jump on this brick to see over it, but it's an easy kill when you pre-aim it. Alternatively, you can throw this, which some people call the Lurk smoke as well. It's the left side Lurk smoke that does similar things, but in a slightly different way. If you want to deal with that, well, there's no perfect perfect way to do it, but this is a boost I don't see nearly often enough, and you can jump spot from the exact same angle, then just smoke them off once you see them. In mid, the most common mid smoke is this one that's pretty easy to remember and easy to throw without missing, that you can combine with this Molotov that you throw just before you hit the stairs to go for mid control. The only problem is you're probably going to get hit with counter utility, so one you can throw on your own without needing any teammate support, which is always nice in pugs, is that smoke there combined with the same Molotov that you just throw very quickly that allows you to take control of mid with some risk, but you can do it on your own. Otherwise, you can throw the molly from closer by aiming for that area there and throwing it from below the box. There's a ton of silent drops in CS2, even full videos dedicated to them, and I found most of them are super hard and not that useful. However, this one is one of my favorites and honestly one of the easiest, because possibly one of the most annoying parts of playing Mustang is that you have to make noise where everyone in lobby can hear you drop when you want to jump down. However, you can silently drop insanely easily by aiming for this part of hut, just that little elevated part, and strafing back as you fall off, but make sure you let go of crouch as you're falling. You can actually do this if you've practiced a little bit without even doing a lineup. And then you can silent drop off of hut to go for a lobby push if you want as well. Something you probably never actually want to do is play B on Dust2, but if you want to know how to hold a B rush when you get forced to play there, this is pretty much how you do it. You molly, then nade into the molly before the smoke blooms, because once the smoke blooms, they're already past that nade. And then flash behind yourself and try and grab a quick kill on someone swinging car. Alternatively, if you want to play close up, you throw the same molly, and then you can throw this flash that bounces off of the wall and will be a perfect pop flash to guarantee you at least a kill or two. Something you might actually consider doing on your own is this play a lot of pro teams are making with the best spawn, where they instantly cross to the box, or with an op, they instantly post up for someone to jump on plat. But something you should know is that in CSGO, you could see someone's head over this box if they were standing. In CS2, you actually can't, and someone can easily peek out on you on a certain timing. You probably already know the standard top mid smoke because it's been thrown since pretty much the beginning of CS2 and blocks the entire cross to the boxes. However, if you know a team is throwing that, you can try this aggressive play where pushing up middle, you see they've thrown it, you can jump up behind it and use it as cover. This even works at the pro level as Nico gets a 2K here. If you want to counter that, other than just swinging out instantly, you can throw this molly. I mentioned earlier about spawn instant window smokes being too hard, however there are two of them that are worth knowing because they're so easy. They're just the two back spawns. So this one is the closest spawn to Palace, and it's a W jump throw. And this one is the closest one to the back wall towards the apartment side that you W jump throw as well. In fact, it's so easy, someone showed me it in a live pug by pinging the angle. The instant elbow smokes on Ancient are probably some of the most effective in the game, but also the hardest to learn, so I can understand if you don't want to. But if you don't, you should at least know the elbow Molotov, where you come on the left side wall and you aim just at the bottom of that little rope thing coming out of the tree. You can throw this pretty quickly on the fly, and if you somehow magically have two mollies, or your teammate throws a molly to help support you, you have pretty good coverage, and then you can smoke on top of that molly yourself. The only thing is you have to quickly jump into donut, otherwise you can get killed by someone swinging out fast. So the sequence is molly, nade, then flash off the wall and peek back out. Talking about countering fast plays, if you have the best spawn for Banana on Inferno, you can try this double-click nade at the very beginning of the round that does a ton of damage. I've seen a lot of teams throwing this recently, including Na'Vi, and then you just toss the molly right afterwards, and your opponents will be kind of screwed. On the other side of the map, my favorite nade is this one that bounces for top mid, but when I see people throw this in pugs, they always just kind of randomly throw it at no real timing. If you want to get a ton of damage done, do it when you actually hear your opponent's flash middle, because that's when they probably swung out, which is something you might not have realized you actually don't have to do to deal with an Opper J on Nuke, because this molly feels like you'll get opped as you throw it, but if your opponent is playing the standard angle, they can't see you at all. However, if you're that opper getting mollied back, you can actually back up and spam through the wall for probably nothing, but once in a while you'll get a free kill. I can't help but put this in another video, because whenever I ask for a flash at mid on Mirage, even at level 10, the flash is always so late that my opponents could already be at mid boxes. So please, if you play connector or A, for the love of God, throw a flash for your mid player, basically as soon as they enter window. Now, some util that has changed in the last 10 years is the ramp molly, because I've seen people get raged at for this exact type of situation. However, because of the CT molly update, there's almost no way to throw a perfect ramp molly anymore. There's almost always a gap in the front or the back. If you're ever Palace, you might consider throwing this molly that gets both on top and below balcony pretty effectively. But in reality, you're usually smoked off, so it can be useful to know this insanely easy lineup where you just back all the way to the corner that I threw it from before and toss it out. While testing things for this video, I actually found this really weird but kind of funny smoke that I don't know if it has any actual great uses, but it's worth, I don't know, just it's fun, I guess, because you can walk all the way out on Palace and peek behind it, or you can, well, the whole thing smoked off. I showed Util in mid on Ancient, but if you want to know any Util, it might be this one that you absolutely need if you ever want any chance to hold cave, which is that double-click molly and then a nade. So the molly, you're going to double-click jump throw just as you pass this angle here, and then to nade, you bounce it off that little thing jutting out of the wall. Alternatively, if you're struggling with that nade, you can actually aim it at the bottom of the tree. It's not quite as good, but it's still pretty effective, and will make it easier to have info if your opponents are rushing cheetah. Probably the single best nade that increased my win rate on any map is actually this one here. Some people call it the Brollan molly. The idea is just that it makes it really hard for the CTs to defend cheetah, and a lot of the time they end up taking a bunch of tick damage and then backing up and giving up cave entirely. The lineup is to go on the right side of the door, aim in this area here, and then jump throw, and it causes a lot of problems. Just keep in mind the spawn does matter, so if you have a bad spawn and your opponent has the best one, they can easily get through it without taking any damage, but now they're trapped and you can pretty easily trade. This molly will make your opponents rage. The only problem with it is it probably does require a teammate working with you if your opponents have any idea what they're doing. Before I leave Ancient for good, this is a jump spot that's worth knowing so you can see someone cheetah if you're smoked off. And something people have been noticing a lot recently is this gap in the wood where you can actually see someone falling back cheetah or walking up to the close right corner and get the kill for free. If you're wondering if you can see from the other side, you actually do have a gap there, but it's much smaller and harder to use, but maybe it could be useful late round to see people exiting the door. And I'm putting this one right at the end because I'm hoping it's patched as soon as possible, but if you downscale your resolution and have Fidelity FX Super Resolution on the lowest setting, you can actually see through a ton of different smokes, especially ones that have gaps like this one on balcony or the jungle angle I showed in the intro. Anyways, if you enjoyed this video, give it a like and check out this other video YouTube thinks you'll enjoy.